Historical Gamer, and here we're going to be taking a look at part 2 of my Rome Total War II Caesar in Gaul AAR. This video is going to be a little bit more basic, not because I'm doing less, but more just because I probably won't play out any of the battles. I want to kind of advance a bit in this. Really, the point of this AAR is to advance the campaign a bit, like I said, and kind of build up my power. Because right now, I'm simply too weak to fight a lot of the other powers. The first video looked at my victory over the Helvetii, which was the first tribe that Caesar subjugated in 58 BC. He did actually subjugate numerous tribes who were fighting on their behalf. It was a much larger campaign than this AAR demonstrates, really. Than the scenario really demonstrates, than the campaign here demonstrates. The Helvetii are rather weak and alone, whereas there are numerous tribes off to the east and north which sided with them in the historical war. Caesar also subjugated the Suebi, the German tribes, in the same sort of time frame between 58 and 57 BC. In my opinion, in my experience, it's really not possible to have that kind of rapid success. You simply don't start with a large enough or powerful enough force, although I suppose if one of you is a brilliant player of this game, you may have that chance. The Tuligani actually were one of the tribes who fought with the Helvetii. They were a subsidiary of the Helvetii. They were almost like protectorates of the Helvetii, and yet they're far stronger than the Helvetii in this campaign. So I know I've only played a little bit of this. I've only played like through the first couple of months into the beginning of 57 BC, so I don't have a ton of experience with this game yet, but I can tell you, or with this expansion yet, but I can tell you with bitter experience that if I try and march off and start taking out other neighboring tribes, other neighboring kingdoms, or whatever these may be, I will be in for a rude awakening, as my army is simply not large enough. So again, this video is mainly about expanding my power, increasing the size of my armies. I'd like to get 2 full-size legions. I feel like that's kind of the healthy size that a army needs if it's going to have success taking over new territories. You can defend effectively with 1 because you can pick your fights, but if you're attacking fixed positions and fixed cities, you really need more than 1 army. 1 army simply isn't large enough to do that if the other kingdoms are anything but weak, and in this case I know for a fact that my potential enemies around me are not. So as you see here, I'm building up Octoduran, if that's how you pronounce it. It's the city I took from the Helvetii. It was their capital. Let's see what's going on here. The Cadurci have declared war on me. I have allies in the Volcanti, which are right next to them. So these guys are in the southwest. I honestly wasn't sure where I was going to expand to next, but if I can draw my allies in with me, then I think it's worth moving Caesar's legion down south, and maybe on the defensive I can weaken the Rutani and have some success, or sorry, not the Rutani, the Kadari, and have some success against them. The Tuligani obviously hate me. Looks like I was actually at war with them. They must have sided with the Helvetii. I don't even remember that. But I'm going to go ahead and make peace with them, which they did. So that secures my eastern flank, and now I can move Caesar's armies down to the southwest to deal with these new enemies. It's actually an ideal time for them to attack me, because being winter, if you stay on the main roads, you don't really suffer a whole lot of attrition, as long as you don't stop in an area that looks all snowy, and when you put your mouse cursor over it, it gives you like a skull. But during the winter, if you're not on the main roads and you are in kind of like an area that looks snowy, it basically means it's a frozen area, you suffer attrition, and your army can quickly get very weak and fall apart, much in sort of a Napoleonic Russian invasion sort of way. So in this case, moving down to the southwest, it's a slightly warmer climate, and I can spend these turns on the road, on the march, getting down there, rather than wasting them sitting in a city up here. I feel like I can do something with them. So that to me is, I suppose, a positive here. Building up some of the Roman cities here to try and improve my wealth. My main focus is keeping these cities peaceful, first of all, because the more peaceful these provinces are here, you see on the east, the less troops I have to worry about, possibly keeping in a reserve role in case there's a rebellion. Not terribly relevant until I take over some more territories, but still something that I need to consider. And also, the less I have to worry about them, the more they expand financially, and hopefully the more armies they allow me to train, raise, and basically provide soldiers for, to make my main army stronger. If I built a second full army right now, I don't think I'd have the finances to fund that, but I'm going to at least start a second army. I want to put something up here as kind of as a garrison force at Octoduron. Something small. So just a small force here. We'll put a cavalry unit as the main unit, so they have some horsemen. And we'll go ahead and raise some legionaries. And also, I believe, some skirmishers I'll throw in here in a little bit. Basically, I'm thinking maybe a 5 or 6 unit army. And that way, it's at least... It's too small to fight in the open, but coupled with the garrison, it would probably be adequate for defending the city. The garrison itself would not be sufficient for fighting off an invasion, but a garrison and a medium-sized to smaller army will really help bolster the garrison's forces, and with the defensive terrain bonuses and the walls, should allow me to fight an enemy off somewhat successfully, while also not being too strong as to prevent an attack altogether, thus allowing them to starve me out. I definitely prefer when they launch an assault on the city as opposed to asking me to sally forth against them, because I'm not very good in city fighting, and I want to try and avoid that. Okay, so now the Rutani are at war with another one of my allies, and they're asking me to join them. So now I'm fighting 2 enemy provinces down here in the southwest. There I go. I'm going to go ahead and build that force up. So we're going to make it a 7-unit army up here to kind of hopefully at least keep the Tulagani and other tribes that I haven't really encountered up here in check. I'll put my spy here kind of as a picket to detect enemy troops if they do start to move on Octoduron, and I will continue moving Caesar to the southwest, where these 2 enemy forces are threatening, although they haven't really done anything yet, fortunately, maybe because of the weather, I'm not sure, but at the very least I want to be ready in case they do launch an attack against this province, because I do have a province, as you can see on this map, on the extreme southwest here. It's isolated by these 3 Gaulish tribes in the middle. Fortunately, they're somewhat of my allies, so in this extent, it's sort of... I'm benefiting from my strategy of splitting southern Gaul in 2 by putting some allied Gaulish states between me and my eastern and my one western province, and that way I can make sure that a divided Gaul, these tribes don't have as much of a chance. They don't surround as many of my territories. It's really only a couple of territories of mine border potentially hostile enemy territory, so it limits the avenue at which I have to defend, and limits, it makes the strategic situation less complex. Okay, these guys are building up okay. I'm just going to kind of let them sit there. Hopefully if a rebellion forms up, they're strong enough. It doesn't look like that's too much of a risk. I can improve the garrison if I improve some of the buildings here. That'll make it even stronger up there. But for the time being, I guess we'll just kind of leave it be. I'm going to move Caesar's force here, my main army, down south, and it's a nice force. It's a well-balanced force. It has some heavy equipment. I'm worried it won't be enough, though, because there are 2 enemies that I have to fight, and I don't honestly know what season it is. The only way I really know how to check seasons, and maybe I'm missing it, maybe it's somewhere obvious, is by going into the save menu and seeing what it loads for the autosave. But maybe that's just me being stupid. Go ahead and improve. Let's see. It's 1300. Yeah, I'll go ahead and improve some of the civic buildings down here. They give me extra garrison troops for free, as well as helping to improve public order and keep people and things in line. So we're kind of chugging along this turn. I think the first video I only really covered maybe like 3 or 4 turns, but definitely blasting through a lot of turns here. You see I failed to capture that province. That would have required me staying at war with the Tulagani, and I know for a fact they're one of the few tribes I fought, and I would stand no chance against them with 1 large army. I would need 2, and I simply don't have the funds. at this time to raise two well-trained armies and keep them going. So I've gotten Caesar down here, so this province here should probably be pretty safe. And now it's up to marching into enemy territory and taking over these cities here. So I'm not sure which one I want to go for first. There are two, as I said, two enemies down here. Now, historically, Caesar really didn't end up fighting in southern Gaul for a while. The main campaigns in 58 BC were against the Helvetii, the Tulagani, and a few other tribes here, which I believe are also on the map, although I haven't run into them yet, so I'm not sure what they're called, kind of in north-central Gaul. He then would fight the Germanians, or the Subai, who were a Germanic tribe. Real quick, the Rutani are offering me peace that would block off my advance against the Kaduri, however. So I'm not sure if I want to go to peace with them, because I'd like to be able to take one of these two out. I've moved Caesar down here, so there's no point in not going to war and expanding with one of these, since everyone else seems to be my friend right now, unless I'm just going to sit and build up, which I really don't want to do. So I'll go ahead and reject that peace offer. But as I was saying, 58 BC saw Caesar campaign against the Helvetii in the north. He also, well, southern Gaul, but the north of this map. He also campaigned against the Subai in 58 and 57 BC. Again, that was on the German borders, and also in southern and central Gaul. He really didn't fight in southwestern Gaul for a while, I don't believe. I've done a little bit of studying on the campaigns, but I don't see a whole lot of campaigning that far south, especially not this early in the campaigns. A lot of what we know today of the Gaulish Wars are actually from a series of books which Caesar wrote, basically commentaries on the Gaelic Wars. So that's interesting. It's kind of a general telling his story, and that's our main historical topic or historical source for the wars. Obviously, that's not perhaps the most unbiased source of information, but it's definitely something I'd like to check out and read someday, because to me that seems interesting, the idea of a Roman leader writing his campaigns or information about his campaigns. I don't know how many of them did that. Again, I'm not a Roman expert. I do know Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, but those are more philosophical in nature and less about, sort of a classical sort of history story. There were others out there, Tacitus, I believe, one of them, who wrote about different tribes and different events and different wars, obviously, but I don't know how many of the main Roman generals wrote books that are well regarded today about the actual campaigns. So I'm trying to kind of pay the Volcae off, as you see here. I marched Caesar through their lands, and they're not terribly thrilled with me, so I just want to kind of, hopefully prevent a war. So I'll give them some money, I guess. Maybe that'll improve my relations. One thing I've always felt with the Total War series is diplomacy could really be improved. They could almost take the diplomacy engine from Crusader Kings and overlay that on top of Rome Total War. If you could have a Crusader Kings style game with all of those styles of politics and intrigue, and mix that with the military system of Rome Total War, I think you would have an absolutely amazing game. One of the best games out there, and it would seem more realistic and accurate. Although, as I've said before, I really do feel that Rome Total War 2 has done a much better job of staying true to history than the previous Rome. At the very least, they've gotten Gaul a lot better, because in the original Rome Total War, I'm pretty sure there was only one tribe, the Gauls. There might have been one other tribe kind of in the north in Belgium, and then there were the Germans. So there were three tribes that would have been engaged in this particular campaign, whereas in here there's a dozen. So there's the Kaduris. See, they moved into enemy territory here and marched on me, and as you see there, one army is not enough. I moved up on that enemy city there, and I tried to attack, and it turned out I'd have no chance, so I pulled out, and then an enemy army chased me down, and I pulled up and pulled out, and I need another army. I don't really have the funds to build one right now. I guess I can move the Second Legion forward. Maybe fight these guys together. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see here. Expand this. Now that I'm pulling out my troops, I want to make sure I'm improving public order. Although taking 5 turns, it may be a while. So we've got 2 legions now, although one of them is very small, which are kind of going at the enemy here. And I just got a mission to raise an army in Namur Matis. That's the city I just pulled that army out of. So that should be a relatively easy goal. Hopefully these 2 forces are enough to be victorious over the Gauls. I've got a little bit of money. I don't have enough to raise legionaries, and it doesn't look like the province down here has advanced enough construction to do so. So I'll be forced to raise some levy spearmen and maybe some mercenaries to strengthen my force into about a half-size army. So a good size army here. Definitely not weak, although again some of those enemy forces were rather large. I guess we'll see what happens here. Like I said, I don't intend to show these battles most likely. Just once I get, I'm sure I'll at some point in this video, shortly I'm sure, I'll fight whatever the large enemy that comes together against me, and then I'll maybe have a video or a couple of videos on the campaign against that tribe. So again, we're campaigning in the south. The Gauls seem more split and divided here in the south, perhaps, than even in the north. Although maybe that's just my perception, because, like I said, I haven't played the game a whole lot, and I've fought, I think, 1 battle in this area, so definitely haven't. I'm not sure how strong these enemy units are at this point in time. So, getting my armies ready for the assault on Segundium. Still building up more to get kind of closer to maybe 2 full legions instead of just 1 full legion and 1.5 basically. And I'll research some tech and advance another turn. We're just chugging right along here. I keep feeling like the campaign's about to end, that I'm going to lose because I'm making very little progress. We're a year in and I've only taken one province. I don't feel like as Rome you start off strong enough to just kind of run around and start attacking and fighting people. So you know, maybe I'm just not very good at the game. That's certainly possible, but that's my thought process anyway. So here we go. I think I'd like to launch a strike against Segundium after this turn anyway. I really don't have a whole lot of income to keep building up troops, so I'll be going into the red, and I can't really do that to build an army. The Kaduri are trying to sign a peace treaty with me, but I think I'll reject it because the Rutani are only 1 province large, and I don't want to have to justify a new war against a new enemy once I defeat this enemy here. I've almost got two full armies now under the 2nd Legion, and the 1st Legion's already a full army with some siege equipment too. So offwards. One thing I'm not quite sure is this sort of red thing that comes around the edge of these engagement zones. It's like you can't move into it unless you're attacking, so you kind of keep a pretty distant approach to enemy cities. So I'm not sure honestly quite how that works, but move my 2nd Legion in here. Now you see I've got about just shy of 5,000 troops. The enemy has over 4,000, so I outnumber them. Now the bulk of the 2nd Legion is cheap levy spearmen, more or less. So all of these simulated battles look like they're going to be pretty costly. I'll go with the moderate approach. Hopefully I inflict more losses on them. Although I guess now that I think about it, I'm going to kill everyone anyway because they're all inside the city. So I've captured 1,000 enemy soldiers. What am I going to do with the city here? That was a pretty awesome victory there. Do I want to loot? Looting will get me a bunch of slaves. It'll also get me a bunch of money. Raise will destroy all the buildings and it'll make it easier to rebuild, in my opinion, so I'll go with that. And I've taken my 2nd province here in Segundium. Now my army took quite a drubbing there. You can see my units a lot of them almost were wiped out. And this other legion too. Move them into the city to kind of provide some law and order. I don't have any money to do anything right now. So, we'll see here. I haven't defeated the enemy, although I don't think they have another province. I think they just have one very small army left that I need to deal with here. So far this is a successful campaign. Yeah, I don't see another Rutani province, so that's a good sign. Tuligani are a little bit less dark red there on that map. The darker or brighter the red, the more close you are to war or potentially already being at war. Uh-oh. So I should have made peace with the Kadari, is it? I only have about 1,900 men left. They've come at me now with 4,200 and 3 different armies. I have very little chance in an actual engagement, but the problem is I can't withdraw because my troops have already marched too much and fought too many battles, I assume. So now that I've taken this province, and as you saw there when I was simulating the first battle, it told me I'd win a Pyrrhic victory. Well, this is true. I won a battle. I destroyed the enemy, but now I have virtually no chance of winning a follow-up fight, and I don't want to play a battle out where almost all my units are almost all destroyed. You can see that. They're almost all gone. So I guess maybe we'll just fight a protective stance and hope the enemy takes some casualties there. As you see, they just destroyed my 2nd Legion, taking Segundium right out from underneath me. So they let me beat down that other tribe, and then they came in and kicked me out and took the city for themselves. All my forces are wiped out with the exception of Caesar's bodyguard. And didn't inflict that many casualties either, so definitely not ideal. Now they're going to go after Caesar himself, and I can't withdraw because I've already done that once in this battle. But other than that, I'm not actually going to fight the battle out. So really what I'm going to do at this point is just go ahead and end the video. And just want to go ahead and thank you for watching. And until next week, this is the Historical Gamer and my Rome Total War II AAR signing out.